welcome back to this week's episode of the Millennial Mum podcast. Now, I am ridiculously excited for this week because it's not just going to be me. So for the first time ever, I'm going to be interviewing a fellow mum in business, and we're going to be talking all things mum life and business life. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this first ever Millennial Mum interview with the incredible Shelley Yates. Welcome, Shelley, to the first ever Millennial Mum podcast. Thank you so much for being here. This is actually the first interview I've done. So thank you for being part of this huge milestone.
Thank you. I actually feel honoured. You know what? And when I saw you announce it, I was like, oh my God, I'd love to go on that. That sounds really cool. And then when you messaged me, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so honoured.
Well,
so thank you for having me.
So let's assume that everyone listening to this has absolutely no idea who you are. So give a brief introduction of yourself.
My name's Shelley. I am 31 years old. I'm a mum and I have two little girls, Billy and Daisy, who's 4 and 2. And I'm a business owner, multiple business owner, I guess you could say.
Love that.
And yes, and I've really had been doing that for maybe the last 4 years, maybe 5. I've had failed businesses before I actually had anything that was a success. But yeah, business owner. I work from home. And did I say I'm from Derbyshire? Yeah, Midlands, Derbyshire. Born and bred. So that's kind of that's me.
That's where you are now. So let's take it right back to when you were a little girl, when Shelley was maybe 4, 5, 6 years old. What did Shelley of that age want to be when she grew up?
To be honest, my dream was actually, I'm a little bit older than you actually, Yas. So you didn't have the Spice Girls era, did you? You would have missed that.
I was more like Girls Aloud era.
Yeah. So I wanted to be in a girl band. I still kind of do, but I'm totally aware that I'm past it now. But my dream, I am. My dream, I just loved anything that was creative. I loved performing, singing, dancing. I've never been able to sit still. I've never really had and this is probably the reason why I've had loads of jobs and stuff and different businesses. I never really actually knew what I wanted to do. Some people are like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be this. And I think that's amazing when people have that really strong vision and knowing, but I never really got that. And I still feel now, I know I enjoy business, and I have this I really enjoy a challenge, something in front of me that I can grab. And that for me actually started when I had a commission sales role when I was a job that I just took because I needed a job.
Was that your first job?
No, it wasn't my first job. Sorry, I'm going ahead of myself, aren't I? But basically, I realised that I liked sales when I landed on a sales job that gave me commission and I could run after the commission. I loved that. That's when I realised I wanted something that was uncapped. But yeah, when I was little, I just loved performing, singing, dancing, acting, doing anything that was extra. Basically,
it's so weird because I've actually heard you say that before. I think on one of your business Instagram pages, I think I read that you wanted to be in a girl band, and you've got a background in drama school and things like that. And it's so weird because I went to drama school for 7 years, and there's so many things about our journeys and even family life. We've got 2 kids and the industries that we're in, which obviously we're going to get to in later in this conversation. But it's just so crazy that some of the things that you say feel like you're talking from my head. It's just crazy. Okay, so the whole girl band thing was a dream, and you realised that potentially wasn't going to be as close in reach as you expected. So
I actually did audition for X Factor when I was at Yeah, I did actually.
Oh my God, I feel like this is an exclusive. I feel like this is... Have you ever put that on your Instagram? I've never seen you put it on your Instagram, so I feel like this is an exclusive.
I have. No, I don't think I have. But I was about 19, and it was I was at uni, and my uni, they were sick of listening to me sing, and they were like, "Oh my God, Shelley, you need to do it. You need to do it." At this point, though, I was only really used to dancing in front of people, not singing. So it was. I find that really hard. I found that really hard because I've not practiced. But I did go to the audition. I did get through a few rounds, and then I got off because you go.
Sick.
Yeah, you get. It's like 5 rounds before you actually get to see like Simon Cowell. I didn't get that far. My
That's
dream.
wicked. I did not know that about you. I rate that. I proper rate that, you know. I feel like with singing as well, like it to me, I don't know whether you feel this as well, it's more raw than dancing. Like I would happily dance in front of anyone, but like I am not a very good singer, so I'm obviously not like you, but I feel like it's more raw. You lay yourself more bare. Like, do you know what I mean when you sing as opposed to
Yeah, and
dancing?
if you're nervous, it transpires more as well.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah, really, actually, my sister-in-law asked me on Saturday to sing at a wedding, and I was like, oh
are you
God,
gonna do it?
I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I'm gonna do
Oh,
it, but I need some
sick.
practice,
Well,
definitely.
now that everyone knows this, we're gonna have to
Mm.
have some kind of clips. We need to like see here this situation. We need to.
Oh, I can't sing now. It's too on the
No, not
spot.
now. I mean like the wedding. We need like clips from the wedding. We'll have to
Oh,
get Tom to like make sure he gets some good footage, and
yeah,
we need
it'll
to
be
get that
there.
out.
I said I'll do it now, so that's it. I can't really go back now, can I?
So, going back, obviously, before you were 19, unless that's when you got your first job. What was your first job, and how did you get it?
My first job was at Primark.
Was
My
it?
first job was at Primark, yeah.
What were
Well,
you like 16?
I did do a paper round actually as soon as I could, but I got so bored of that, and I used to do the trader. I don't think it's still a paper now, but I used to do the trader, and I got sick of it. Every Thursday it was like 200 papers, so I used to walk to Astra and put it in the recycling bin, and my mum found out, and she went absolutely nuts at me. So that was technically my first job. I got £4 a week for that because I split it with my friend.
It was
But
probably
my
actually
first
putting it through the doors instead of putting it in the recycling bin, or did you both have a little pact together that you were binning it?
Yeah, mum's like, you're gonna get found out, you're gonna get arrested. I was like, Mum, come on, it's a free paper. um, so yeah, that was my first job, and then I couldn't wait to get a job. I loved it. Like I never really had any money until I was like probably 25, like actually a wage like in my hand, but I'd always find a way somehow. I'd always hustle in some kind of way to get money, whether it was saving my dinner money or selling something of my own. Like I'd always end up being able to do stuff or buy stuff even with no money. Like I became really resourceful with that.
That's
But I
it.
was so excited when I got my first job at Primark, and that was actually a really good experience because some of the customers used to get, like, I feel every single job that I had when I was younger kind of gave me something to help me where I am now. And at the time, you don't realize it, but it does. It like grows you or hardens you in some way, gives you so many lessons. Like the people that I used to have to deal with when I was 16, they put me on the customer service desk. So I was dealing with people
You
bringing
had
things.
all types of people.
Oh gosh, there's some absolute stories. I had one guy who brought back a pair of discontinued jeans, and his dirty underwear fell out of them. And I remember saying, I know it was
Oh
awful.
my
I was
god.
like, I get paid £4 an hour. I'm simply not dealing with this. Like walked off.
That's horrific.
Um, I know, but yeah,
I
this is
think
the thing.
the whole
Retail.
retail thing, though, like I worked in retail from a customer assistant point of view, and then also in retail management. And I've also worked in hospitality. And I think that
Mm,
those two industries, that everyone at some point should work in those industries because you
100%.
see it from both perspectives. And I think there's definitely times, like you might agree, that you've dealt with someone in your job and you think, one, I'm not paid enough to deal with this, like you've just said, and also makes you, when you then go into a shop older or you've got an issue, you kind of deal with the person working slightly differently. So
Yeah.
you know it's actually not their issue. They haven't done this. They're literally just getting paid £6 an hour or whatever it is to just be here. And you just have like a different level of respect for them, especially like when
Yeah.
I was a waitress in a restaurant and a wine bar thing. And like the amount of different people you deal with, especially like they come in sober and they leave drunk, like
Mhm.
you deal with one person who has like five personalities in the space of a couple of hours if they're not good with their drink. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
I
is so good. I'll make the girls. I'll make the girls get a job when they're young because it's just you learn about everyone, and you learn how to speak to people and how to deal with people, and that's not something that someone can just tell you. You have to go through, all of it, have to experience all of it. But predominantly everything that I've done has been in some way sales. Like waitressing is sales, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're actually selling the service to get the tip at the end. Like, you know, all those.
Even when I bloody worked in Ibiza as a hostess, I was shelling. I was selling massive bottles of champagne, even though I was prancing around in a bikini all day and spraying the champagne. Like I was also there to sell, and selling champagne is different to selling like shoe leather spray stuff like I sold when I was in Clark's. You know what I mean? You have to approach things in a very different way, but it's the same principles. Um,
Mm-hmm,
so,
mm-hmm.
just on the
Yes.
girls, you mentioned the girls. Were children always in your plan? Were they like always in your like sights?
Yeah, like I knew I always wanted kids, but I didn't even begin to think about it until I met Tom when I was like 24. So yeah, I guess it was, but I wasn't. I wanted to kind of get everything out of my system first, do everything that I wanted to do, travel, go and make those mistakes, all that kind of stuff, and then do the kids. So I think I said at one point I didn't want kids till I was like 30, but I had Billy when I was 26.
That was going to be my next question. How old were you when you had the girls?
Yeah, so I was 26 when I had Billy, and I was 29 when I had Daisy. So, yeah, I think that changed quite a lot for me. As soon as I had Billy, my mindset shifted a lot around like my job and like what I wanted to do. You
What were
probably
you doing? What were you doing when you fell pregnant with Billy?
I was just in a dead end like sales job that didn't even pay me commission. Again, like I said before, if I don't get anything from it, I can't, I don't perform. Like if someone told me you're on 30K a year, that's it, I will turn up and do the bare minimum. But if someone honestly, I do because it just doesn't excite me. Something has to excite me for me to chase it, and if it doesn't, then I won't. So I was in a really, basically I worked for Sky just before I got this dead end sales job. I worked for Sky, the TV provider, and that was, you got really good commission with that. So it was like bringing people back to Sky from like Virgin and stuff. So it was quite fun. It was a big group of us. We were all out on the phones, like trying to sell each other and stuff. And that was really good. And you get a buzz from it, and you get a good commission. So that was good. But I went up to management level, and I didn't really like it because it was just something else to do. Just like, oh, what can I do now? Go to a manager. So I just did that. And then I got bored. And I have loads of pressure and stuff. So I just moved to I just made a really quick, rash decision to go to this other really small company, and they didn't pay me commission. So I literally turned around like spinning on my chair every day. Like I've really, really hated it. And I knew the office was not for me. Like I absolutely hated it, like beyond words.
So after you had Billy, did you
Hmm.
go back to that job?
No. So what happened was I fell pregnant with Billy. I had Billy, and then I was about 6 months into my maternity leave. I mean, I had tried a couple of businesses. I tried selling things on Amazon. Me and Tom had tried selling like water bottles.
What is this
Because
like drop shipping or like FBA, Amazon FBA stuff?
yeah, like drop shipping, these water, the ones that stay hot and cold for ages. At one point, they were literally the thing. Everyone had one. Everyone was selling them. We were like, well, everyone else is selling them. Let's sell them as well. We yeah, that didn't work. That absolutely flopped. I had a vintage clothing business as well, which I really enjoyed the whole
I can
creative.
imagine you doing that.
Yeah, I did that as well with my best friend, and that was really fun. Really enjoyed that. We actually got an ASOS marketplace as well, but it was so like,
Yeah.
yeah, but we hardly made any money because they charged you so much to be on ASOS marketplace, basically.
Oh yeah.
So we did that. We used to model ourselves and stuff. I'll send you a couple of pictures.
Yeah, please
By the
do.
way, guys, I didn't know that I was on camera, so this isn't usually what I look like.
Yeah,
Well,
my
actually, no,
bad.
this is actually what I look like.
You look beautiful. You're so fresh
Oh,
faced,
thank
and your
you.
skincare. You know you've got a good skincare routine
Oh
going on.
gosh,
So
thank you. But yeah. So we used to do modeling outside. That was so much fun. But again, that just didn't make enough money. So I just had this thing where I knew I hated being in the office. I knew I hated being on a capped income. I knew I had got a thrill out of like creating something, developing something. So it kind of all was coming together for me to have my own business. And I think I always knew from a young age that I wanted something that I could grow myself, but I just didn't know it at the time until I got to like 25 and had Billy. So all of that comes when you're new mum, like you basically reevaluate everything, don't you? And you're like, okay,
yeah.
I've got to go back to work. Like, do I enjoy my job? Obviously, I didn't. What can I do? Like, almost like went into like this panic mode and like thinking about putting her into nursery. I couldn't afford nursery at the time. We were literally, to be honest, we were absolutely skint.
And time feels like it's going so fast, don't you
Yeah,
think? Like, even though, yeah, you have the sleepless nights and you, like, let's say Tom was out working and you'd be home with her and she's crying and you think, oh my God, this time is going so slowly. But then actually, when you zoom out for a second, you think, oh my God, like, there isn't enough time. And I want to be able to spend time with them when they're little and, like, what needs to happen? What can I do now to, like, get myself out of that, like, cycle?
yeah, 100%. And it's so overwhelming when you've just had a baby to feel like then you're responsible to make the right decision for them. Um, And anyway, so I got approached by a girl who I vaguely knew. She was actually from the same area as me. And we were just chatting. She'd not long had a baby as well. So we had all of that in common. And she was like, oh, like, what are you up to? And I was like, oh, just on maternity leave. And she was like, have you ever thought about, I've got this online business. Do you want to have a look? Never had seen network marketing before. Now, I think now most people know what it is because on the online world, especially after like COVID really and stuff, blew up so massively. But 5 years ago, 4 years ago, but people, it wasn't really a thing, or I'd never seen it really. Um,
Or the only companies that you'd see would be like Herbalife, but I didn't know that that's what it was. You just knew Herbalife, but you didn't know that that was the concept of it, or it hadn't necessarily gone like online at that point.
yeah, it was still throw a party. You know
Yes,
what I mean? It
yes,
was
yes,
still in that
yes,
era.
yes. Like the Ann
It was
Summers parties and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Because that's still going now, and people still do that, don't they? Like, anyway, but yeah, so that I didn't have anything. I didn't really have a negative connotation of it either, to be honest. And I know a lot of people worried about that, but that didn't really bother me. But um, the thought of being able to just make money from selling products from my home, because I'd already done businesses where I'd had the physical product and I had to get rid of that product. And if I didn't, that would cost me. So the thought of being able for it to be very sort of they purchase and that's it, like you don't have to buy stock in, love the idea of that, love the idea of uncapped income. And I felt like this light bulb thing went off in my head and I was like, oh my God, this is literally what I need to do. And here I am 4 years later, learned so much. Like this is doing network marketing has actually been the most valuable thing I've ever done for myself in business. And like it's not easy either. It's really not. You learn so much about yourself. There's so many, with like, the same as any business, I'm sure, but there's so many peaks and troughs and things you
I
have
think
to
the
go
hard thing
through.
about the peaks and troughs, though, especially being a mum running a business from home, sometimes the troughs can feel really lonely. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even though you might
Yeah.
have a team or you've got other people in your company who are like riding that same wave, because you're building your business predominantly on your own from home, that when it is the lows, it can feel quite lonely. And I think you have to be really proactive at speaking to other people who are in your team or in the industry or just generally to make sure you don't feel that. Because I think when people have their troughs, it's so easy for them to just stop,
Mm-hmm.
and
And I
especially
do.
if they don't know what business is. Obviously you understand business and you understand that it does go up and down, but for other people who started this business might see the high in the initial stages and then see it start to tail
Mm,
off. They might think that they've done something wrong, so it's not working for them, and then they stop, and that's obviously the time when
yeah.
you need to like push through.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't do very well for quite a long time actually. Um I was just selling a little bit here. I didn't do badly. Like I was making a few £100 a month, like amazing compared to what I
Amazing.
was making, which was absolutely nothing. You know, I was on that £600 maternity pay that was slowly running out. So I thought, well, I might as well carry on. Yes, I'm not a millionaire, but that wasn't really the reason why I started anyway. It was because I just literally wanted to be able to go and like sit with my friends in the coffee shop and not have to worry about like spending money. You know, just having that extra little bit every single week was all I wanted, and just to be able to not go back to work and feel that pressure to go somewhere that I didn't want to go, and had to have to put Billy in nursery, or well, I couldn't afford to do that anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I think the other thing as well, just kind of going back to that peaks and trough thing, I do think sometimes it's very hard in network marketing, because sometimes it can seem a little bit like smoke and mirrors, in the sense that people always feel like they have to go on about how amazing they're doing, when sometimes they're not, and they feel like they have to keep up this, you know, this wall of yes it's amazing, yes it's amazing, and they struggle to be vulnerable because of that. And I think, you know, sharing those vulnerable times, and the times when you perhaps haven't earned as much, with, you know, sidelines and other people, is actually a lot more real and endearing. And, you know, I think people will join you more because of that, actually,
A
rather than
hundred
just this
percent.
hype all the time. Like, I just find it so I'm so over it.
I completely agree. And I say this to my girls all the time, that actually, the more successful you become in terms of how much you're earning or the things that you achieve within the company, you almost become more of a skepticism to the people on the
Mhm.
outside, because you then seem so far removed from the reality. And actually, the person in your team who might be making, I say only very loosely, might be making £100 a month, but can then go and spend time in the coffee shop with their friends, like you're saying, and not worry about having to like dip into savings or dip into the maternity pay or anything like that. That becomes a lot more relatable, and people were likely to join that more because it's more on a level, as opposed to the person who's got the car going on the holidays. So
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
really important as well to share people like your journey from the very beginning, so that people can watch you grow, because you can't just be silent for the first few months and all of a sudden bang, yeah, I've earned 10 grand in a month. Like, it just
yeah.
gives the industry a bad
Waiting until you're
name.
successful, you know,
Yeah,
it's
it
just
doesn't really work like that.
it will
Um,
just simply never happen, you know.
Exactly, exactly. So you started that when you were on maternity leave with Billy. Fast forward now, you've got two girls and you're working from home. So how do you find juggling work life and mum life? Because Daisy's nearly 2. Does Billy go to school now?
Billy is last year of nursery. She's like an early one in her year, so she's been here for a long time without school. She's so ready for school. She's September baby, so she's in nursery full time. Daisy isn't in nursery yet. She's going to go in September. So I've still got Daisy here with me. You know what? I started blocking out time quite a lot, which works really, really well for me, because I lose concentration as well, like quite a lot of people do. Like if you sat there working for hours, I try and block out like 20 minutes, half an hour intervals. And I do like a little top 5 list of maybe things that I need to do that day, and try and tick them off. I try not to do anything too overwhelming, because yeah, when you've got kids it's really hard. And I must admit, I'm not the most organized person. So
You've said
but
this to
some
me quite a few times recently, and I just don't see it. I just don't see
no,
that. I don't get that vibe.
I'm not. It's weird because I will get everything done, but it would be in like I have
Chaos.
this yeah, it'll be in chaos, but like I can do loads of work in a short space of time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I prioritize well, because I don't manage my time as well as I could, and that sounds weird to say, but because I know I perhaps haven't been as organized, I'm like, right, this is the most important thing. Let's do this now. Bang, 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 and
Right.
I'll do it like that. So I find, and it is something that I'm working on, because this is going to do me a lot better in business if I do become more organized. I wake up quite early. A lot of the time, I'll do an hour of work before the kids get up. It's like one of my customers messaged me earlier. Sent them a message, and they messaged me back like, "Do you literally just like work through the night?" I was like, "No, I'm just up and sending all of my messages out at 5 a.m." So yeah, my team.
So, because Tom works at home, doesn't he?
Mm.
So does he help out with Daisy in the day or not at all?
Yeah. We do try and like juggle things, but and it's a lot. We're actually having an office put in down in our garden at the moment so that we can kind of get a bit of space away, because at the moment it's in the kitchen. But predominantly I will have Daisy. Um, but it's actually, I've never known anything else.
So you don't know what you don't know. It's not like you've,
I
yeah.
And I think, you become more efficient actually. If you had like a day without the kids on your own, you actually procrastinate. You've got 8 hours, so you literally do nothing for 4 of them because you're just happy that you're doing nothing. And then you know what I mean?
No, this
Having
happened to me
it less
today.
out.
Coming back from nursery, we had about 45 minutes. I dropped Finn off, gone to the doctor's, come back, and I think I had 45 minutes after I'd expressed. I had 45 minutes and I needed to pick him up, and I
Mm,
had messages coming out of my ears, but follow
yeah.
ups that I needed to do, phone calls I needed to make, and I got so much done in that 45 minutes. I had like 2 hours before, and I didn't get half as much done. And I think like when you give yourself like a really short time, you
Mm,
just you're
you
like,
get it
right,
done.
let's go. Yeah, you just get it
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. 100%. So yeah, I think I've not known any different, and so I've just kind of, you just have, in the evenings I do quite a lot, and in the mornings I do quite a lot, and then in the middle I'm just kind of like trying here and
I
there.
suppose as well because you didn't start your online business. Obviously, you're saying you don't know any different. Like you didn't actually start your first online business until you had the girls. So it's not like you had this scheduled life where you
No.
did like Zoom calls for 2 hours every morning and then this and then that. And do you know what I mean? Like you've always had to fit
Mhm.
it in around the girls. So like you said, you don't know any different. But
Yeah.
I totally agree. Like I think the whole efficiency thing, since becoming a mum, I am so much more efficient in time blocks. And I
Yeah.
talk about it to my girls and even to Sam. Like we now have a joint Google calendar and we block our time out because Sam is like so bad with his time. Like he literally gets ready. He might have to leave by a certain time. He doesn't even check the clock, like as he's getting ready. So he could literally leave 15 minutes late and he doesn't give a shit. Like I can't live like that. That actually gives me anxiety. So we've now had to sync our Google calendars and we block stuff in so that we make sure that we're both getting stuff done because we're in the process of obviously starting to navigate our way through both of us being at home, building our
How are you
business.
finding being together all the time?
Um, we're only like 4 or 5 weeks in, I think. And it's funny, like the plan that we put on paper of the person, one of us coming up and sitting in the office for X amount of time and doing work just never happens. And
Mhm.
we have our office, I'm in the office now. In our house, it's the like small like box bedroom. But even if the boys are downstairs or like the other person is downstairs with the boys, you can still hear them and it's still really distracting. So
Yeah.
we try and actually just get out of the house if we're working. And where the property business is obviously really busy at the moment, we're meeting with investors and meeting with other people and doing viewings and stuff. So that's been quite easy to just go, okay, I'm going out the house for this afternoon, and the other person just has to deal with the kids, which is absolutely fine. But it's been really lovely, like seeing Sam like take more of the mum responsibility around the house. Like whereas
Yeah.
before he'd leave early in the morning, come back late at night, and wouldn't really have to deal with the boys as such. He even says like he feels like his relationship with Finn has got so much closer because he's been spending more time with him, which is so lovely. And I think dads miss out on that quite a lot if they
Yeah.
are the main breadwinner or are the ones that are working throughout the time when the kids are young. But it's going to be nice because we're going to be able to teach the boys and let them watch us firsthand build a business, and your girls are going to get that from you guys too. So like thinking about that, what's the like main lesson or main thing you want to teach your girls through like running your own business?
Gosh, I feel like I just want them to know that they can literally do whatever they want, because I never saw myself as like this person who like would ever have a big one. My business could be a lot bigger, obviously, but I
No,
never
but you're
saw myself.
smashing it. Like especially like in the cost of living crisis, like you're making decent money. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and you know what? I'm so grateful. I want the main thing is I want them to be happy. So I don't care what they do. I don't care how much money they make. I want them to do something that they enjoy, and that sometimes takes time. I've said to them, go and try things out. If you want to do this, go and do this. Like, and I've always been that person as well. If I've not enjoyed a job, I've been like, see you later. Not doing this anymore, because why would I
I've
spend
never
one
been like
second?
that. But that's so
Really?
good that, yeah, that's so refreshing. Because my friend Charlotte's like that as well. Like she would
Mm.
literally, if people, her job didn't like authorize her holiday, she'd just leave the job. Like she is so like, I'm not being that person. I want to live my life, and like my time is not being wasted here. But I just haven't got that in me. But it's so good that you're teaching the girls that, because I wish I had more of that about me when I was younger.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you know what? When I was younger, I've softened a lot more. I see my old age. I've softened a lot as I've got older. But I was a bit like kind of like the wild child, a little bit of the rebel. Like I didn't want to do the normal job. Again, I ran away to Ibiza as well. Did a season in Ibiza. Like, so, and that's fine as well. I want them to have all these experiences and stuff. You know what I do think though? I do think that like more and more and more women are, it's normal for women to be in a position of not necessarily power but business, and have these bigger jobs. And I'm hoping that when they get to that age, that's just like literally the norm, like the gender pay gaps closed and all that kind of stuff, and they just feel like they don't feel like, I don't know, as a woman sometimes you also feel like almost you've got something more, you have to do more, you have to do more to be seen as credible. Do you
And then
know what
if
I
you
mean?
overstep the line ever so slightly, you're seen as bossy and it's an
Yeah,
issue. There's like the
yeah,
very fine line, isn't there?
yeah. You're too much in your masculine energy. It's like, whatever. What does that even mean? you know. So I hope they're just happy, and I'm just gonna show them that they need to work hard, and like you say, they see all this stuff. It's all going in, and it's hard to find that balance sometimes. But yeah, that as long as they're happy, that's the main thing, and they have a great group of friends, and I'll support them in whatever they do. So
I love
yeah, they don't need to be
that.
a business owner. I don't care what they do.
Just do whatever makes them happy. That's so
Yeah,
lovely. So
definitely.
just you touched on the whole like women having to do more and kind of like the masculine thing. So recently we have both stepped into a very male dominated industry. So
Yeah.
it's this is what I was saying about how like our paths seem to be so aligned, and like I'm so glad that we've like come together and we're actually like working together now. So we're
Hmm.
obviously both in the network marketing industry. I've been in it slightly less than you, so I'm 3 years. It's actually my 3 year anniversary in the industry this month. But in the last 6 months, or just over 6 months for me, we have both stepped into the property game. So
Yeah.
I know we literally did a live about this on our property pages the other day, but to anyone who hasn't seen that, how did you get into property? Like, where did that whole thought come from?
So I've always had an interest in property, and again, we spoke about this, didn't we? But I think on some level, everyone does, because they live in a house or they need to buy a house at some point. So everyone has an interest on some level. Again, I really liked the idea of property, that you can do so much with it. It's uncapped, like you can be creative with it. Kind of there's like some crossover with network marketing, isn't there? With that, I think.
Definitely.
Um, and I'd always spoken about how much I'd love to like flip a property, like, do it up, sell it on, make money, and actually unintentionally did that with our first house, mine and Tom's first house. We bought it, like just he did the kitchen and like we did the garden and made like 30 grand on it. It was mad. Yeah,
Flish.
yeah. And I think we just sold it. It was like all kind of coincidental, and to then buy our next house. It wasn't to start a property business. It was just for us, for our own like residential mortgage. But anyway, we've always spoken about it, and I think I just didn't have really know enough about it. And then through my network marketing business, and that's the first time that I'd ever actually had money that wasn't in my overdraft ever. Like I was in my overdraft until because I went to uni and stuff. And then when I came out of uni, I just had like a low paid job all the way up until I started network marketing. So I never had this income that I actually could have
Good
ever done
bus.
anything with. Yeah, I was literally had no money always. Um, and Tom had started his business. So we saved up and we were like, okay, what we can do this money? Let's buy a house. Let's let a house out. And that's kind of how it started. This was like 3 years ago. So I started my business, he started his, we put our pot of money together, and we were like, right, let's buy a house, let's do buy to let, let's see how it goes. So that's how it started. And then about a year ago, actually, I started looking around on YouTube videos, looking at different strategies, and really, the more I watched of, the more it interested me. And so I was like, right, I want to get into this more. I want to understand this more. And so this kind of led me to, yeah, about 6 months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Me and you had a conversation, and we were like, oh, you were like, oh, I'm start. No, because you put something on your Instagram about how you were doing something new, and I was like, what is it? What is it? And you were like, oh, it's property, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to get into property. And that's how that kind of developed, wasn't it? How we were talking about, what we wanted to do in property. At the time, I didn't really know, and I'm not 100% sure of like where I'm going to end up. But
But
at the
that's the
moment,
good thing, because there's so many different strategies you can dip into that you can literally
yes.
try your hand at absolutely everything if you wanted to.
Yeah, exactly. I think the main thing is you literally just got to get started. So I started my property Instagram, still feeling really overwhelmed with it, by the way, because I've come out of network marketing and I felt like I got to a space there where I felt like I could educate my audience on it because I kind of had the badge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as I've been through this 4 years, like I'm enjoying helping my audience with it as well. And then now I do feel out of my depth with property, but I was ready to feel out of my depth again. I really wanted to feel like, right, okay, I know nothing about this. Let me get stuck in. And so I'm still kind of navigating all of that as well and trying to like see where I'm going with it. You know what I mean? It's so vast, but at the moment, obviously, I've got my buy to lets, rent to service accommodation, which me and you were doing together as well.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm working with social housing too. So that's kind of all coming under the property umbrella. And yeah, I'm just really excited for the future with it. Like, I
It's
don't
so
know how.
refreshing. Like everything that you said at all parts of your like career journey, you've just been so curious about everything. Like
Yeah,
curious
I
about
think
network
you just,
marketing, curious about the
yeah.
sales job, curious about property. And like it's so nice to hear that you've had that curiosity mindset because it's enabled you to achieve so much. And you're still
Yeah.
like, yeah, what's next? Or like, what else can I do? And when you have that mindset, it opens so many doors. And I think
Mhm.
there's so many people who would be scared to try something new because they're just worried about the failure. Whereas you're just like, oh, what's this? And then you do a bit of research and like, oh, okay, what's this? And it just
Yeah.
kind of takes you to that next step. And the fact that like obviously you're in network marketing, so you know how to network, you know how to build relationships and speak to people. But if you hadn't reached out to me based on what I posted on my story. Literally, I had posted that something exciting was coming. I hadn't even posted that what it was to do with, and you were like, right, what are you doing? And we were voice noting. But like, if
Yeah.
you hadn't have been curious, we might not have worked together in the way that we have so far. Eventually, I think our paths would have crossed because I know I said this on the live, but we
Yeah.
would have been amazing together in a network marketing company in the same company. Like we would have done some serious damage. Um, but like we might not have worked together in the way that we have now or like
Mhm.
built the foundations that we have together or that we are like slowly building. So even just your curiosity in that, like you can just tell that you have that mindset about everything and that's what's kind of led you to where you are now.
Yeah, I think just asking questions in general, like always asking questions and always being curious and always talking to people who are above you is something that really important that I've always taken away. Like I've always tried to, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I just take bits from everyone. Like, when people say, oh, you have to be your own, you have to find your own identity, you have to be individual. And yes, I do think you do, but like take take things from everywhere, and it helps you to understand through your own content who you actually want to become by doing that. Like, do you know what I
And
mean when
never
I
being
say
afraid to be the dumbest person in the room and like
that?
purposely putting yourself in those situations where you do feel overwhelmed, you do feel out of your depth, like you're saying, because the only thing that you can
Yeah.
do in those situations is learn.
Yeah, and I actually hate being in a space where I just feel like there's nothing else. Like that's the end. And that I find that boring, which is might be why. I have managed to get further and further along. Don't get me wrong, like I have times when I'm literally like, I don't even know how I got here, or like, oh my God, I'm just like not like I'm not cut out for this. And I really do think, because Instagram and social media, TikTok, whatever, can be a place that you literally go on it and you feel overwhelmed instantly because you think everybody knows it all. It's like information overload. Like everyone's a bloody expert these days. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And I actually genuinely believe that no one really knows what they're doing. No one really does. And that makes me feel
Everyone's just fucking winging it.
yeah, I think they are. I think they are because sometimes people think that I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, I don't. I don't. I'm winging it as well. So everyone else must be winging it, and I do truly believe that. And that does give me like encouragement to carry on.
To keep going.
Yeah, definitely.
So
So yeah.
we both have some incredible things in the pipeline with the property stuff. We're also
Mhm.
learning from each other on the different strategies, which is really exciting. You've passed me over a potential investor, so I'm speaking to him. Like
Oh
we're
yes,
just
you meant to
working
message me about that
so
earlier.
well. You'll have to message me afterwards.
Yes, yes, I will.
But we're working so like collaboratively together, and I can't wait to see what you do with like your social housing and your HMOs and all that kind of stuff, and where you take your Instagram, because the way you show up on Instagram is incredible. And even Sam says, like, she's so active on Instagram. I'm like, I know, like, you just go hard on it, which is incredible. And I think as well, the fact that you have two young girls, and you forgot to say you're a fur baby mum as well, that
I
you've got
am.
your
Yeah,
little
he's
fur
literally around
baby.
here. He's asleep. He actually
Yeah.
nearly interrupted the podcast and probably like turned the computer off halfway through. I was like pushing him like this. Yeah, I've got a puppy as well. Don't advise if you got two kids, especially a toddler. Don't advise getting a dog. Just don't do it. Wait till the kids at least 3. That's literally my advice to anyone listening to this who wants to get a
Well,
puppy.
this is my point, right? You are so busy, but you still find the time, even though you say you're really unorganized, you still find the time to be posting on social media and like be documenting your journey from the very beginning in property. So I'm so excited to like be part of that, but also watch that kind of grow over the next months and few years. And who knows, like it'll be
Yeah,
incredible to see where we're at like this time in a year. Like maybe
I
we'll
know.
have
I
to do
was
like
gonna
a year
say,
anniversary podcast episode and just like reflect on everything, because I think we're going to do some
yeah.
seriously big things in that time.
I do
Definitely.
think this year is going to be like one of the biggest ones in terms of like change and growth and all of that stuff. I really felt it, and I really felt it at the beginning of the year. And like we're in like the first quarter now, are we? God, it's gone so fast,
Second, we're in the second quarter
hasn't
now, I
it?
think. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so we definitely need to catch up. And just what you were saying then about Instagram and being so active, I actually love making content and thinking of ideas, things to create. That's the bit that I really enjoy,
You
you
can
know.
tell.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I think that comes from like the whole like performance bit of me that wanted to be like, because I don't dance anymore. I feel like that's me doing my bit of like not acting, it's still me, but do you know what I mean? That's
It's
me
just you on the
performing.
stage, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's my way of expressing myself. And like, yeah, that and I now do that through Instagram, and I mainly stick to one platform. I'm really trying with TikTok. Um it's so hard to stay focused on there. Um I'm trying with
Get the
TikTok.
scroll
I'm
hole
not
easily.
a property on TikTok yet. I mainly do like fitness stuff on TikTok. I find it like a nice little vice for me to not do business. It's strange because I could potentially make money from TikTok, I guess.
Yeah, but you
But
need some kind of like just hobby, so to speak. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
I don't want to make everything serious,
Like
you know?
passion project kind of vibe. Like you need
Yeah,
something that's just like that doesn't mean anything, but you're just enjoying being in that creative flow with that. Definitely.
yeah, like no pressure on it. Like, oh, I need to post a TikTok today. But I think there is something to be said for focusing on one because again, I haven't got time to be building up multiple different platforms. I'm trying with LinkedIn at the moment. That's fun. I'm going to go on a LinkedIn course next week. Do you use that?
That's like, yeah. So when I worked in recruitment and when I came back from my season in Ibiza, and because I was in medical recruitment and it was literally just before lockdown, the majority of my business was connecting with psychiatrists and doctors on LinkedIn. So that was the main platform that I
Right.
used. But like, I know obviously you need to bring your personality to whatever you do, but like LinkedIn is way too formal for me. It just seems a bit too like removed from the type of person I
Corporate.
actually am. Yeah, and I feel like I need to be more corporate, even though like
Mhm.
you don't, but there's just something about it that takes me back to my like store manager M&S days where it was like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like too corporate, like you
Yeah.
were saying. Even though I say to my girls about using LinkedIn because actually that's a place where professionals go. And if you're looking to find business owners or people who
Mm.
are serious, you're more likely to find them easier on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
a whole bloody another podcast, isn't it, really?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not here to educate anybody on LinkedIn. I'm going on a course next week to see how that goes, just to keep my options open with it. Because, like I say, I'm still so new to property that I'm still trying to figure out like who I'm even like aiming this towards, really.
Yeah.
And that just takes time. But I'm very impatient.
Well, you'll have to let me know what the course is like. You'll have to like feed me some nuggets.
Yeah, I'll send it you over. But it's a lady that I've seen on YouTube, and she's doing like a free 5-day course. So I'm going to do that. But yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
well, before we finish,
Hmm.
what advice would you give yourself, the person that you were when you first got introduced to network marketing? If there could be one piece of advice you would give yourself before you ventured on that business owner journey, what would it be?
Don't listen to anybody who's not done it themselves, basically.
That was short and sweet, but that
Yeah.
speaks 1,000 words. That is so apt because you know what it's like, and you'll have team members. I've had team members where they doubt themselves because their fucking aunt from France, who's never even had Instagram, says it's not going to work.
Yeah, and just life in general. As I've got older, I've realised that everyone has an opinion, and just you shouldn't listen to everyone's unless they've been through it. And you know, I speak about business to people who have businesses, and I like listening to their take. People who haven't, and they're like, "Oh, that's a stupid idea." I'm like, well, how would you know? You know what I
What?
mean? Not
What?
not to sound not to sound like a dick, but just like in general, if somebody's got a failing marriage, you don't go to them for marriage advice, would you? So the same works with literally anything. So, I'm never rude, but if someone was to, like my mum, was to give me business advice, I wouldn't take it,
Yeah,
unless it was good advice. But you know what I mean? And she'd never give it me anyway, because she wouldn't. But yeah, I just think you've got to always follow your gut as well. Like I've always listened to my gut on everything. Like I'm not somebody who really looks at like facts and figures and all this kind of stuff. I just have like a knowing and a feeling, and if I have that, then I follow it without a doubt. And I
that's
think
wicked.
that's always done me good.
Well, yeah, where you are now, it
Oh.
seems to have done you all right so
You'll
far.
always doubt yourself though, don't you? But
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
not down
definitely.
yet.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. Just before we go as well, if people want to find you on socials, what's your Instagram handle? Where can they find you?
My Instagram handle is Shelley Maria Yates. So it's EYSHELLEY Maria Yates. That's my Instagram. I'm not really on Facebook. It's the same name on Facebook as well, but add me on Instagram. That's where you're going to see the content. And my Yates Property Solutions, it's actually tagged on my personal Instagram. That's my property as well. So
Cool. Well, I'll make sure that I put it in the show notes as well because this episode will be going on
thank
Spotify and to
you.
YouTube, so people will be able to click
Oh
on it.
gosh, I wish I did my
Thank
hair.
you so much for being on the first Millennial Mum interview. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I really, really appreciate you taking your time out of your evening to speak with me. And there we have it, the first ever Millennial Mum interview. I hope you enjoyed this episode just as much as I enjoyed interviewing Shelley. Please make sure you head to her socials and give her a follow, and make sure you follow the Millennial Mum socials as well, which I will detail in the show notes. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode.